Hi everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. My name's Ellie. I'm from Quiet Connections. Some of you might recognize me. Um, so we are running this little workshop tonight, and the wonderful Phil has offered to do this for us, and he's going to be showing us some of his wonderful breathing techniques. Just a few things before we start off. There is a chat on the side, which if you want to ask any questions, you're more than welcome to. I'll keep an eye on them throughout the session. And then I think Phil will be answering some of them at the end as well, just so we can keep the flow of the session going. The chat is public though, so just to be aware that other people can see it. And you can also chat between you as well if you want to. Wonderful. So I will hand over to Phil now if you want to give a little introduction, and we're looking forward to trying some of your techniques.
Sure, no problem. Thanks a lot, Ali. And before I start, I'd like to thank all of you guys over at Quiet Connections for giving me the opportunity. I must admit, I wish the resources that you've got were available to me when I was younger, because they're fantastic. And as somebody who's in the past suffered with anxiety and social anxiety specifically, they would have been of huge benefit. And, I'd appreciate how lucky all your subscribers are, because there's a lot of really good resources on there. So thank you for sharing with me. So for those of you who don't know me, which is probably all of you, my name's Phil and I live in West Cornwall. I'm a father of 4 crazy daughters. I run an IT business which I've run for 20 years now, and about 10 years ago, I became an NLP practitioner, which was quite a big thing for me at the time, and it's helped me immensely in how I communicate with myself and how I specifically communicate with other people. And just recently, I've extended on that personal work by training with the lovely Lizzie Lebellestiere over at Going Coastal Blue. She's developed a fantastic coaching framework called Blue Health Coaching, which is all about how being in, near, or around water is beneficial to our well-being. So coaching's in and around coastal environments. And if you're interested in anything like that, a good place to start is a fantastic book called Blue Mind by a guy called Wallace J. Nichols. So if you haven't read it, I would certainly put it on your reading list, definitely. But like I said before I learned some of these NLP techniques, I, like a lot of you guys, suffered with anxiety, self-doubt, and fear would creep in whenever I went anywhere, and it would hold me back a lot, to the point where if a friend invited me to the pub, if I walked in I wouldn't even dream of walking in by myself. So it was that much of a hindrance for me. So on to the main reason why I'm here tonight. It's basically to share with you some breathing techniques that have helped me, that I've learned in the past. And I'm an asthmatic, so this all started about 7 years ago. I went to see a GP for my asthma checkup, and a rather forward-thinking GP I said to him, I'm not really into taking asthma pumps and steroids all the time. I'm not really into pills at all if I can help it. And he gave me a DVD by a guy called Patrick McEwen, an Irish gentleman who's extended and developed upon the works of a guy called Konstantin Buteyko, who was a Russian doctor who brought out this technique to help people with asthma. And the easiest way to explain how to start is, like the name of one of this guy's books, Patrick McEwen's, shut your mouth. Basically, breathe through your nose. And basically, there's a lot of scientific proof now that's coming out that really does sort of move along these lines and say we should all be breathing through our noses by default. But if you're an asthmatic like me, you can find these patterns that you learned in the past will hinder you in the fact that you'll be mouth breathing a lot with asthma, And one of the symptoms that comes along with mouth breathing and asthma is a blocked nose, rhinitis or rhinitis, however you want to pronounce it. So I used to actually take a lot of a spray for that as well. So it was 2 sprays twice a day in my nose and a pump twice a day, morning and night. Now, since learning some of these techniques and some more techniques, which I'll expand upon shortly, I've now I haven't taken any asthma medication for probably 18 months because I hadn't felt that I needed to. My asthma's under control. One of the triggers for me would be waking up between 3 and 4 in the morning with a tickly cough, and that was a trigger that my asthma was starting to get out of control. That was one of the first signs. I haven't had any of that. And when, if any of you guys are out there and you are asthmatics, you probably know that once a year or so you have to go to see the local nurse or GP, and they'll make you blow into a device that measures your lung output. So it's done in sort of liters per minute. And on medication, I would hit about 550 max on a good day. It would be between 450 and 550. I've got one here, so I regularly just keep a check on it to see how I'm doing. And I can actually now hit 650, which you don't have to be a maths genius to work out a percentage increase in that. It's pretty astounding, and it's just, you know, I'm not just exaggerating. That is how it's how much it's improved my breathing techniques. But since learning the Buteyko technique and starting on my road down this sort of breathing technique, I've now learnt from people like this sort of the Wim Hof technique, which is absolutely fantastic. There's other elements to that, like the sort of cold water immersion, but we won't go down that rabbit hole because there's a whole other workshop that could be done on the benefits of cold water. And also people like people to look up who I'd recommend, people like Brian McKenzie and Rob Wilson in the States. They're doing a lot of really good work on breath work. They studied a bit with Wim Hof. They've learned from a guy called a professor out of Stanford in America called Andrew Huberman. Now, he does a podcast on Instagram, and I can recommend that as well because this guy's a neuroscientist. He works on neuroplasticity and how we can develop and change pathways in our brain. And he's done. I'll go on and explain a little bit about it in a minute. But he talks a little bit about how they've proven the link between breathing and your brain. So yeah, really interesting stuff. But before we sort of get into it, sort of what I will say is, I mean, obviously there's a raft of information available with the current climate, with COVID and stuff. There's breath work seems to be in your face a lot, and you might have been a bit overwhelmed with the amount of information that's out there. So I really want to just sort of give you like a starting point, a start of a 10, if you like. But we are working with sort of if you like, the primal part of our brains and our body, the fight or flight instincts within us. So feel free to just toe tip in or just bail out at any time if you feel uncomfortable, because some of them are the techniques are designed to be like a stressor to your body. So just do as much or as little as you want. The way I look at breathwork, there's basically 2 types of breathwork. First type is formal breathwork, which is what we'll be working on tonight, which is literally usually done either seated or lying down in a cool, calm environment. And the second one is what if you go in to want to develop your breathing work, but it's basically working breath work, which is, you know, as you can probably guess, it's doing things like holding your breath when you're going for a walk, trying to hold your breath for 5 steps before breathing again, or nasal breathing while having a run or working on a rowing machine. And one of the areas that obviously they do a lot of breath work is free diving. And a lot of the research and a lot of the information that I've drawn upon for breath work comes from the studies that they've done on people who free dive and the benefits they've got for being able to keep themselves in a calm state. And that's basically because of they're actually building up their tolerance to CO2, which some of the scientists are now referring to as the stress molecule. So basically, there's a relation with build up of CO2 in your body and how you relate to stress. But yeah, there's a few things to look at there that could be quite interesting. So I think what we'll do now is we'll kind of move on with a couple of techniques. What we'll do is I'll do a couple of sort of chilled out techniques or techniques to calm you down if you're feeling a little bit panicky. And then we'll go on to do a couple of, maybe we'll touch on a couple of sort of a la Wim Hof kind of up-regulating techniques. But again, feel free to sit them out if you want. But I'm hoping, Ellie, you'll join in and be my cue. So I've got somebody to play off because it can be difficult to try and do a breathing technique and explain it. So I'll probably just explain it and I'll be looking at you for cues. So hopefully there's not too much of a lag on our internet connection because otherwise it's a bit weird and a bit clunky. So before we start, there's a quote that I'd like to read you, which I think is a good place to kind of sort of pre-frame this, if you like, because I think this sits nicely with breath work. And this is from a guy called Viktor Frankl, who was an Austrian neurologist and a philosopher, author, and also a survivor of the Great Holocaust. Look him up. There's some great quotes on there, but this one in particular is in between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space is the power to choose our response. And in our response lies our own growth and our freedom. So obviously, in that space is your breath. So basically what we're saying is if you can control your breath, you can calm yourself down internally, and it gives you can just step back a second and just gives you a moment to pause, steady yourself before you make a response. Okay. So the first technique I'm going to look at is one that I learned from a guy who he's a cold water immersion trainer. So he does kind of Wim Hof stuff, but specifically he focuses on putting people in ice baths for the first time. And as you all know, if you get into cold water, it can be quite a shock. And the first response usually is big gasp, and then sometimes you can get that panicky feeling, and so all your breath's high up in the chest. And this technique he teaches to people while they're in that kind of state to just kind of down regulate them a little bit. Technique's basic, it's quite basic. What you find with a lot of sort of breathing work, it's usually patterns of holding. So you breathe in for a certain amount of time, hold for a certain amount of time, exhale for a certain amount of time. And if you think about it basically like this, if you work on extending your inhales or taking in more oxygen, you're up regulating your body, so you're getting yourself into more of an alert state. So like a stressor, if you like. So if you wanted to sort of get ready for doing something that was high energy, a bit of breath work to up-regulate would be quite good. And sort of the meditative side of it, if you like, that's working with your parasympathetic side of your body, your sort of rest and digest, is the exhales. So if you work on just extending your exhales, you'll find that immediately that after a few breaths, that can just down-regulate you and chill you out and put in a nice state. So the way this one goes, it's basically you're going to breathe in for a count of 4, hold for 2, and then you exhale for 8. And what I would say as well is try and do it, obviously, sat down. If you can, use the nose. If you've got a blocked nose or a cold, or that's not a no-no, crack on. Whatever works. If you need to use the mouth, then do so. So if we do, we'll go do a few rounds. So if you ready, Ellie?
Yeah, go for it.
Say in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4, to exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so if you return to normal breathing now. So did you feel a downshift in that? Do you feel you sort of
Yeah,
a bit of
absolutely.
yeah?
I think you could definitely feel it in your body.
Okay,
But yeah, absolutely wonderful.
cool, cool. So yeah, so basically, guys, what I'll do is if any of you are interested, just drop a message in there to Ellie, and I'm happy to put like a little worksheet together, so you've got a sort of cheat sheet to go through some of this stuff, because I'm aware that I'm kind of rattling a few of these things, because we want to get as much as we can in. So that's a quite nice little one to start off with. And again, it's a good way of down regulating if you're feeling yourself a little bit panicky or a little bit stressed. So the next one I'm going to work with, I'm not going to go through the full technique of it, because it's more a yogi's thing. So I've taken this from yoga, sort of the pranayama, their breath work. I think they use it a lot in sort of vinyasa flow and that type of a yoga. So basically, they call it the Ujjayi breath, or Ujjayi, I think they pronounce it, but other people just refer to it, and I like to refer to it as ocean breath, because it can sound like the waves crashing in against the shore, if you like. So what we're going to do with this one, Ellie, is we'll sort of breathe in for we'll say a count of 3 or 4 again.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I want you to do is, the idea is you want to try and restrict your throat a little bit. So the easy way to do that is kind of try, when you're breathing out, try and make a H sounder. Yeah.
Okay.
Or another way of doing it is think that you're trying to steam up a mirror. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
So if we say, so if I just do one, just to show you kind of how I would start it off.
Absolutely.
Because when it progresses, the idea is you do this nasally, so you're trying to make this H sound through your nose, which can be a bit of a challenge and a bit of a stretch when you're first starting. So we'll just keep it basic. So if you go in for 4 seconds, so you get that kind of sound. So it sounds like we're doing a bit of dodgy breathing here. So, so apologies for making you do this. I mean, some people call this like a Darth Vader breath, because you're making. They think,
I
but then
like that one.
loads of weird contraptions and stuff. So that, to me, that's not a good reference. So let's stick with ocean breath, I think.
Yes.
So I'll count you again. So if you just remember, so it's in through the nose if you can, and then out. And if you want to open your mouth and make that sound.
Brilliant.
So we'll keep it. We'll just keep it even. So we'll go for sort of 4 and 4. We won't extend the exhale a little bit. But obviously, feel free when you play around with this later on. Feel free to do so, because you'll find if you extend, as I've said, extend that out breath, puts you more into that chilled out parasympathetic state. So, you ready?
Definitely.
So, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. 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 Okay. So again, that's just, it's because it's quite balanced. It that way would put you in sort of just a calming state. But if you want to really shift down, and again, like I say, I can't emphasize enough. Focus on those out breaths. So now that we've played around with a couple of sort of down regulating and sort of chilled out exercises, I want to do a little test with you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to time this, So this is just like a back of an envelope test on CO2 tolerance, and it's a good place to start. And it's like it's an indicator to how you're buffering stress, if you like. So what we're going to do is, if you just keep, as I'm talking, just keep breathing slowly and calmly. And then what I'm going to do is, when I count to 5, I want you to take a really big inhale through your nose. And then once you've got that inhale, you then slowly release it as slow as you can through your nose. So this stops when you pause. So if you pause and start again to try and exhale, that's your figure. Or if you're completely out of air, or if you swallow. So basically what you're trying to do is not cheat yourself, just control that out breath as much as you can. And this is when you want to start trying to work with your diaphragm. And your diaphragm, if you put your hands on your bottom 2 ribs, when you breathe in, you should hopefully feel an expansion there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, a lot of people use as a key your belly breath, sort of, visualize your belly, and that's a good visual key, because you think about the balloon blowing up. But your diaphragm and the sort of lateral movement, that's what you want to be working on when you're taking a full lungful, if you like. So again, what we'll do is, I'll count to 5, full inhale, and when I start the timer, I'll count in, and we'll go to about a minute for anyone who's joining along, and then we'll go from there. Right, so I'll get my trusty clock ready. So just keep your breathing nice and balanced, and then start getting ready for a couple of bigger breaths, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, full inhale, and then go. You're just slowly controlling your out breath as much as you can. That's 10 seconds. That's 20. Okay. So that's 30 seconds. So I think, Ellie, you were roughly around 20, 26, 27 seconds, yeah? Pretty good. Okay, so well, that's 40. If anyone's there, kudos to you, because it's pretty good. 45, 50, and a minute. Okay. So if you guys want to put your time in there, feel free to do so. But basically, so I can have a look. So when I first started playing around with this, I was hitting about 20, 25. I can now do 45, 50 on a good day. What they say is, it's not like don't think of it as an athletic test or a fitness test or anything like that. It's literally just how well you can control or your response to CO2, if you like. And again, it's something to check in with now and again if you want to get into doing breath work. And it doesn't, you don't have to spend hours a day doing breath work. You can just 5 minutes. But every now and again, it's nice to check and say, I'll just try that test and just see how I'm doing at the minute. So that's a good one to look at. Just look to see where I was going to move on through from that. So as I was saying, so it's like you it's all to do with how well you're releasing that CO2. And again, it's like I say, it's you want to be focusing on inhales for upregulating, and then if you want to be calming down on the exhales, extend them. I think what we'll do now is we'll try and do a little bit of a Wim Hof type technique. I won't do the full technique because it involves a little bit of breath holding. Maybe we'll do a cheeky little one at the end, just to see how we go with that. Now, if anyone hasn't heard of Wim Hof, he's this crazy, charismatic Dutch dude who's done all sorts of work. They call him the Iceman because he's whole world records of swimming in ice water and running in shorts on Everest and crazy stuff like that. But he developed this technique basically from it started off with him going into cold water, and from that he developed this breath work, which they've now tested a lot. In fact, the guy I was talking about earlier on, Andrew Huberman, the neuro scientist from America, he's actually been out and spent some time with Wim Hof, and they tested this scientifically. They tested to see what was happening, and what they were saying is they actually worked out that as part of the technique, they were actually lowering the inflammation markers in the body. So basically, what that's doing is it's healing yourself. So not only can you look at breath work for calming yourself down and controlling your mind a little bit, but it can also help to if you've got any disease. And that's what disease is, inflammation, isn't it? So if you can get rid of a bit of that, then double bubble. You're onto a bit of a winner. So the way this one works is, so what we'll do is we'll breathe in about 30 times, and I'll cue on you, Ellie. The idea is that you're taking in more oxygen than you're letting out, so you're almost like you're hyperventilating a little bit. So we'll do 30 breaths, and then after the last one, you just, when I say 30, just take your last full lungful, and calmly let it out. So the way it goes is I'll kind of show you a little bit just so you know. You kind of go. Okay, I'm not moving so much. That was a bit exaggerated. You want to be doing that when you're breathing. Just kind of take a full lungful. All right. So if you want to get ready now, and so go for it. So 1, 2. Okay, we'll make this the last one. Full breath in, and then out. Okay. So what you might have found, and bad on me, I apologize. I should have said something before that. If you feel slightly dizzy or tingly or lightheaded, that's natural because you're building up oxygen, and you might even feel now a little bit of a buzz and a tingle on your body. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels really strange.
Yeah. So basically, what that is that's basically getting your body pumping that oxygen around. Okay. So usually, I love this. So I'll do 2 or 3 rounds of this in the morning just to get me going. Because I'm more of a night person, so I need anything I can get. Any help in the morning is gratefully received, a bit of caffeine or whatever. But this really does hit the spot. So when the magic for me and other people finds is that you usually find the magic starts happening on the second round, because your first round you're kind of like getting the body primed for it. So we're going to go for another round now, and I'm going to put another little twist in at the end for you. Okay. So I tell you what, rather than doing 30, if you just say last one, just put your hand up and say last one, because it can be a bit, if it's your first time, you're like, you get a bit hyped up. So when you do your last one, what you do is on your last breath, let it out, and then take a full breath in and hold it for like 5-10 seconds.
Okay.
While you do that, might sound weird, but when you breathe it in and hold it, I want you to squeeze. So squeeze pelvic floor or glutes or butt muscles, whatever you want to call it. Squeeze. What that does is kind of like tries to push it up to your head a little
Okay,
bit. All right.
that sounds
Might
good.
sound weird, but trust me, it's good. So if you want to get ready again, so
Okay,
you start. So if you would start whenever you're ready,
okay, go for it.
and I'll count up. And if you want to put your hand up when you're
That sounds good.
fully charged. Okay. So let it out. And then big breath in. Hold it and squeeze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then let it go. How do you feel?
Good, it made me feel really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
Did you see what I mean when I say when I do a bit of this in the morning, it kind of like gets you going.
Absolutely, yeah, it really
Yeah,
does.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, now that we've done a bit of up regulating, we'll go back down. We'll go back down a couple of notches now. So the next one I was going to look at was basically this is something that was developed by a former Navy SEAL in America called Mark Devine. Now, it's been around for a while and it's well documented, and it basically puts you into a calm or resets your breathing, if you like. And it's quite basic and quite simple. It's basically called box breathing. And basically, that's basically because there's 4 parts to it. So these numbers can change as you progress. You can do this for longer. If we stick with the number 3, so we're going to breathe in for 3, hold for 3, out for 3, hold for 3. So you see where the box comes into it, yeah. So we'll do 2 or 3 rounds just so you get the hang of it. So we go in 2, 3, hold 2, 3, out 2, 3, hold 2, 3, in 2, 3, hold 2, 3, out 2, 3, hold 2, in 2, 3, hold 2, 3, out 2, 3. Okay.
Really good. Yeah, definitely feels calming.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a really really good technique to use. So the last one I'll go through is basically good to use when you want to go to sleep. So if you're finding you can't switch off, rather than counting sheep, count your breath.
Good.
The way this one works is you you're working on it, and it's similar to the box technique, other than one dimension in the fact that you're doubling your time on the exhale.
Okay.
So the way it works is, so we're going to go in 3 seconds, hold for 3 seconds, out for 6, hold for 3. So it's still the sort of 4 elements to it, I say. So you're still doing the holds. So I'll go through it with you again. So if you go in 2, 3, hold 2, 3, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold 2, 3, in 2, 3, hold 2, 3, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold 2, 3, in 2, 3, hold 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay.
Really good.
Again, that's down regulating your breath, and again, it's just all it is extending your exhale. So a lot of this stuff is not rocket science, and it's fun to play around with. It's just it's something that can, as I've proved, the amount of stuff that the benefits that I've had from it, from being able to calm myself down, and the asthma side of it. So working with your breath helps your health, helps your well-being, helps your state of mind. What's not to like?
It's brilliant.
So I just want to sort of wrap a bow around it, if you like, and just tie it up. The kind of takeaways for you is like so we've all got the choice in how we respond to stress, and the connection we've got to our breath gives us that moment to hit the brakes, if you like, and it tells us how the motor's running, tells us, if we do that CO2 test, tells us what tolerance is like, but it also gives us that buffer. So if we need to calm down, hit the brakes, then concentrate on that exhale. Another thing to think about, like I alluded to, if you shift your attention to your breathing muscles and thinking about breathing laterally, so when you're practicing these things, if you think about putting your hands on those lower ribs, and when you're breathing in, just feel that expansion. And you should, as you work more with it, with your diaphragm, you'll find that our diaphragms work. They have to work for us to be able to breathe. But the more you work on trying to control it, the better control you'll have over your breath. What I would say is practice makes habit. It's as simple as that. If you practice little techniques, they'll become habitual. Seize a small opportunity in the day just to check in, see how your breathing's doing, and if you need to redirect your habits, if you pick yourself up doing something, and I'll give you an example of this actually. About 4 weeks ago, I was walking in the woods with my wife, and my youngest daughter, who's 7, was cycling, and she said, "Oh, can I go on ahead?" And I said, "Yeah, you go on ahead, meet us at the end." Got to the end, and couldn't see her, and that's like, oh my god, where's my 7-year-old daughter? So he's asking people, have you seen our daughter? Have you riding this bike? Blah blah blah. Nobody saw her. So my wife said, "I'll go back, and you one way, you go the other." And I could feel my breath getting, and it's a stressful situation, but I could feel my breath getting panicky. But I clocked it, and I thought, calm down, mate. Have a word with yourself here. Just have a few breaths, and just take control of this situation, because you need to be on your game here. So anyway, turns out she'd ridden past us again. We didn't see her. We must have been stopped and talked to somebody. I don't know. But it's one of those situations where breath work really helped me, and it's just because I was aware of it, I was able to control it. And that's what one of the takeaways I want you guys to have from it is just check in with your breath. See if you just play around with it, shift it, and see what it does. The last thing to remember, that it's free. This is a free, low-hanging fruit. This is a tool that's with you from the first thing you do when you're born, and it'll be the last thing you do. So it's always with you, and it's always there for you to play around with and use as a tool. So that's it from me, guys, and thank you very much for having me. So, I mean, if there is a few questions, if you want to put them through Ellie, and she can ask me, and I'll go through it that way.
That sounds good. Thank you so much, Phil. They were really, really interesting and really useful.
You're welcome.
I think, like you said as well, it's such a amazing thing if you can get into the habit of checking in with your breath. Like you said, it's a technique we can all practice sort of on a daily basis, and it's free to us, and it's really, really beneficial. So thank you for sharing those. That's really great. We'll just wait to see if we've got any questions come in at all. But we've had some really lovely feedback, so thank you, everyone. I hope you've all enjoyed it. Definitely try the sleeping one tonight, I think.
Yeah, it's a good one to use. I mean, is there any questions you've got, Ellie? I know you, on that first round of the Wim Hof, you kind of got to a point where I could see you as a sort of struggling a little bit there, and it was getting to a point. Did you find it overwhelming at all?
I think it was more the dizziness. It's
Right.
yeah, really interesting because it's amazing how much it can affect you um without kind of, I don't know, I think I've done a little bit of breath work before, but not the sort of, was it, what would you call it? The
Up regulating.
up
So you're kind of
regulating.
up
That's it.
regulating your body. Yeah.
Mm. Um, yeah, so trying that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I'd probably like to definitely practice because I think, like you said, in the mornings, it's probably very useful.
Yeah. What I would say to people is if you're going to practice breath work, try and do it in a safe environment, and not when you're going swimming or anything like that, and
Yeah,
or anything crazy. Just sit down in a quiet space and have a play with it, and just
absolutely.
see if it can help you, like it's helped me.
Brilliant. I think we've got one question come in, asking if there's any breath work you can do if you get panicky whilst you're driving. Um,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the easiest go-to thing is to concentrate on your exhale.
mm,
If you can just keep that slow, controlled out breath. Because if you are feeling panicky when you're driving, I can remember going back to my driving test. Crikey, I was a nervous mess, and I wish I knew some of this back then. It's yeah, just check in with your breathing, and if you're feeling panicky, and just slowly let it out, and just control it. When you've got that space to control it, control your breath, you will automatically downshift, and you will start to take control of your state a little bit better.
Brilliant. That's amazing. We've got a few more questions come in. Um, so on the upregulating breath work, which I haven't done so much of, if you do it to count, what would you recommend, or the number in and the number out, or the difference between the two?
Okay, so if you're first starting, I would say don't go nuts. Just let your body tell you, because you will start feeling tingly and a little bit lightheaded. So the general rule of thumb is, if you can get there 30 times, 30. I mean, I do 40. I'll really charge myself up, 40 breaths, and then I'll sort of change it around a little bit. But I would say the idea is to take more oxygen in than you're letting out. So when you take your full breath in,
Mhm.
only let out, say 50, 60%, and then take more in again. So you are building up your oxygen stores. So concentrate on taking in more. And like Wim Hof says, he just says, just let it go. It's just like literally just let the breath go. Don't force it out. Just let it go. So you're charging up by the more you're taking in. And yeah, again, Colin, just go with how your body feels. If you do 20 and you feel, oh, I'm a bit lightheaded, a bit tingly, stop. That's your point. Let you check in with your body, like any of this stuff.
Absolutely. And then Stacey was asking, how does our breath alter when we're feeling anxious?
When you're feeling anxious, yeah. Well, this is one I know quite a lot of. Me personally, I feel that my breath is all in the top of my chest, and it's shallow, and it's so if I'm feeling anxious, that's where it presents itself, high in the chest and short, sharp, shallow breaths. So you're not taking in enough breath. So again, it's a classic kind of symptom of anxiety attacks, is this kind of breathing. So if you can clock that you're doing it, control it, then you're halfway there. Because like any state, it's not permanent. States come and go. It doesn't matter if you're feeling happy or sad or anywhere in between. They're never permanent, and that's one of the things to think about when you're having a panic attack as well. Is remember, concentrate on my breathing, it will pass. And if you concentrate on your breathing, that's going to help it pass quicker. Okay.
That's brilliant. Absolutely. I think we've got a lot of requests for a worksheet, as well if possible. I think that would be really, really useful. Um, And also, if you've got the quote that you said at the beginning, if you could send that on to us, that'd be really great, and then we can share it as well, because I think Jessica would like it.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, anything I've got, I will happily share it with you guys. And yeah, I'll put a little worksheet together, and we'll see how it goes. Now, before I finish off, I would like to say, guys, this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. So I've stepped out of my comfort zone for you guys tonight. So if it seems clunky, it probably was. Like I said, it's a start off a 10 for me, and for you guys for your breathing, it's a start for 10. So we've all learned something new tonight, hopefully.
Absolutely. I think it's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for doing it. Yeah, I think we've got one final question, which is again advice about holding your breath during panic attacks. I think, as you said, the exhaling is probably more.
Yeah, I mean, there's lot you can look up lots of different techniques to use, but I personally think the go-to place is just concentrate on that exhale. If you concentrate on extending your exhale, that will down-regulate you. So you can work on breath holds, and it is proven that putting that in there will help. But my advice: extend the exhale and calm down. Simple as that.
Brilliant. No, that's really wonderful. Thank you so much again, Phil. Yeah, we really appreciate it. And you've done an amazing job. You've done very well stepping out your comfort zone too. So it's something we've all had a go at tonight.
Yeah, cool. Lovely. Well, thanks for having me, guys. And maybe in future I can do something else for you guys again. We'll watch this space. Maybe something will happen. Who knows?
That sounds really wonderful. Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. And we will speak to you all soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.